I love the people of Uganda, honestly. The people in Uganda are very, very friendly. There you can go up to anyone and become their friend in just a matter of seconds. They're easy to love. I also grew to love Ugandan food. When I first went or learned that I was going to Uganda, I looked up some of the pictures online, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, just because it looked like there was a lot of different kind of just mush on a plate. So I was a little bit worried about that. Over time, I was able to grow to love the food there. My first area was called Masaka, and there they would eat a lot of something called matoke. It's a banana, but it's not exactly a banana. Most bananas turn yellow when they go ripe and you peel them and eat them. But these matoke that they eat, they stay green. In fact, when they go ripe, they just go straight to black. But what they do is they peel them with a knife and they put them all inside of banana leaves and then steam them. And then they mash it up, and then on top you can put all kinds of different sauce. You put chicken with broth or beef with broth, and then they've also got, they call it G-nut paste. It's pretty much peanut butter but in a paste form, and then you put it on top of it. So it's kind of different, it's really unique, but it's an acquired taste, I could say. My favorite dish there it's called injera, and this originates from Ethiopia, though they do have different restaurants in Uganda with this dish as well. My very first time eating it, I hated it. They took me to one of these injera restaurants, and we sat down, and they brought out this plate of food, set it on the table, and everyone just rolled up their sleeves and started eating with their hands, like everyone on the same plate. And so it was a little bit gross at first. And it's super sour. It's fermented rice, the first one that I ate. And so it's a really different kind of a dish, but again, it's an acquired taste. It was about my third time I really started to love it. The driving is crazy. There's a lot of honking. It's one thing that I noticed right off the bat, that you can't really go anywhere without hearing honking all the time. That's kind of how they communicate there with driving. They'll use blinkers a lot differently than we use blinkers here in America. For example, if you're driving down the road and you're going to pass someone, sometimes they'll put on a blinker to their left to tell you, don't pass me, there's a car coming. Or if you'll go around, people just use blinkers when they're telling you, I'm not really feeling comfortable right now where you're at. So it seems like there's not a lot of rules there when you're driving, but in actuality there are. They're just not written. To be honest, I was surprised how very little crashes there were in Uganda. I don't know, it just works. There, you have to pay attention. If you look away for half a second, it will just not be good. So the first time I ever drove, I felt like I was in a video game, to be honest. It was pretty fun. Sometimes you'll run into people on the streets that maybe have some problems or different things like that, but there was one particular man that loved to be on the streets, and he'd love to throw rocks at cars. That was kind of his game. And so it was, like I said, it was a lot like a video game the first time I was driving, trying to swerve through all these obstacles and start driving with a left hand on the stick shift for the first time. Just all these things all at once. It was pretty crazy. There were things that I saw and experienced that were new to me that I've never seen before. I saw different things such as something called mob justice. I'd only seen that once, though, to be honest, my entire mission, the 2 years. And in general, the people there are very loving and kind and friendly. I wouldn't say that it's a really scary place like many people think that it might be. I, to be honest, probably felt safer there than I do even here. I wouldn't have any fear going to this wonderful place. Almost every area that I went to, I would be introduced to new languages all the time. When I first got there, it was not easy to understand the people. So Uganda was colonized by the British, and so they do speak a little bit differently than we do here in America. The way that they set up their sentences, the structure is a little bit different. So here, for example, we may say, how's your day been? Over there, they would say something more as, how has been the day? Well, when we first got off the plane, it was really pretty crazy, to be honest. Just people walking everywhere, a lot of noise, which I'm not used to. I'm from kind of a small town. But then when it really started getting crazy was when we got in the car and started driving. So in Uganda, the people drive on the opposite side of the road, which is one thing that's really different. But not only that, but there's really not a lot of rules there as far as driving. Getting into Kampala, it's a lot of city. And then around Kampala, most of it's city as well. It's not until you get out a little ways when you start to get to some of the villages. There's some huts, grass huts, mud huts, things that you would think of when you think of Africa. But there's also one thing that I was surprised about is that there is a lot of city, which I wasn't expecting when I was going to Africa. They're more developed than I thought. A lot of people imagine living in huts or different things like that. But honestly, the living there really isn't that bad. The water will go out, the power goes out a lot at times. Sometimes food in the fridge will go bad. It's so you have to kind of learn to adjust to things like that. The living conditions really aren't that bad. You just get used to it over time. It's just different, I can say. A lot of the people have farms. They have their own gardens. They grow a lot of their own food. They're hardworking, great people. They make bricks out of mud. And that's what a lot of people will do. They'll go and find jobs like that. The children there have a lot of fun games that they make. There's a lot of jump rope, things like that. There's a game that they play with rocks. They'll get stones and play. I'm sure a lot of people know the game Jacks, where you bounce the ball and pick up all the jacks. So they have different things like that with rocks, and they have to move it into a circle and out. The weather will never change in Uganda. So people say there's a wet and a dry season. Honestly, while I was there almost the entire time, I couldn't tell the difference. It's just every single day is the very same weather. The only thing that will change is that sometimes it will rain. Sometimes it won't rain, sometimes it will be dry. But other than that, it's about 80 to 90 degrees. It's a little bit humid, but not too much. It's very green in Uganda. It's a beautiful place. A lot of banana trees, you'll see that. But overall, the climate is really nice. It seems as if people can grow things year-round pretty much. It's a really nice place to live for 2 years. For the people in Uganda, if any of you ever do see this, I just want to share with you that I really do care about each one of you, and that I did grow to love the Ugandan people.